to the Solar Panel, the Phoenix Sun Show.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sun Solar Panel in the middle of August, in the middle of 2 months since the last time the Suns played a game. Actually, June, July, August. Holy crap. 3 months since the Suns last played a game. And then still 6 more weeks until training camp starts. And yet here we are on a Saturday morning talking basketball. Good morning this morning on our solar panel this morning. I have 2 guests. Both of them love cigars, says the asthmatic. Jake is drinking a Guinness too. Is that what you got there, Jake?
Oh, no, a little Nespresso coffee.
Oh, okay.
All fancy recently.
I just thought you were going full bore, just a cigar and Guinness first thing in the morning.
It is Saturday.
We got Jake here as one of our guests, and then we have the infamous, the man, the legend, the greatest show on earth, PLR, the Cave Show, Paul Richardson. How's it going, man?
My man, what's happening? I'm jealous here because I'm not able to enjoy a good morning cigar to get the day going.
Oh my God. Is that even a thing that cigars actually get the day going?
There's a morning
cigars are how you finish out the day.
No, you can have a morning cigar. If you don't have a lot of time, you can have a dog walker. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can have, Dave.
Right. It's kind of like your friends when they say they went drinking all day.
I don't think we want to go further into that analogy.
Dave,
no, not walking a dog.
Dave, it's a lot like when people say they were drinking all day. You got to start sometime, usually in the morning, to make sure that qualifies. And that's
it's not drinking
21 and older for all the kids out there. There's the disclaimer right there. So we're set.
Wow. Okay. So yes. So we've got some coffee. We got some cigars going here. We have the Phoenix Suns again, who have not played in a while. But yet we are ready on a Saturday morning to cover this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the solar panel. We are going to first get you caught up on what happened in the past week. That won't take long. Then we're going to talk about, I wrote a couple of articles this week on Brightside about what the Nets are really looking for and what they can get. And then we're going to talk about whether, we think KD is still on the table and how likely he is for the Suns. And then we're going to talk about another option the Suns could go to with their assets and whether that is a good direction to go to. So we'll get to that in the second half of the show. To start us off, though, I was wondering, because we're in the middle of August, it's the hottest part of the year in Phoenix. I was wondering if anybody wants to throw out a hot take that doesn't ruin the rest of this episode, but a hot take about the Suns just to get us off on the right foot. PLR, what have you been thinking about with the Suns this week, in the doldrums of August?
Actually what I thought about was I hope their point guard announcer is feeling better and is back. It's Skylar Diggins-Smith, who won't finish the season for the Mercury. And hopefully, prayers up to whatever's going on with her, that they could actually have a point guard to offset EJ when they get to playing again.
Someone who's played recently in the last 2 decades.
A point guard, not just a shooter. Everything EJ said is from shooting. So no, just giving him a hard time. But yeah, just hopefully things are well with her.
Color commentary from Tim Kempton, who was just one of the traditional big white guys and played center. You got EJ, who was a shooter, who talks about shooting the whole game. So we need more point guard. Maybe Skylar's just getting herself ready for the Suns season as an announcer. That'd be great.
Let's hope so. Let's just hope everything is well and she's back doing that because she's very good at it.
She had a hell of a season for the Mercury. We'll just tangent off really quick, folks. I know not everybody who's an NBA fan is a Mercury fan, but we'll just tangent real quick. Skylar Diggins-Smith does some color commentary, play-by-play kind of analysis for the Phoenix Suns during the season because she's a Mercury point guard in the rest of the year. And she is really, really great at it. And this year for the Mercury, she actually was incredible during the season. She made another All-Star game. She's really, really good as a point guard. Sometimes I wish, if there wasn't such a, I don't know, there's a difference in the level of play between the women and the men. But if there wasn't, she would be a hell of a backup point guard for the Phoenix Suns. I would love to watch her every day. I could watch her every day.
What was the kid that's from France that you love so much that was on the roster a couple years ago?
I did not. I did not.
Look how quickly the defenses go up.
I did not.
I bet you take Sky over him. Yes, I bet you take Sky
She'd run circles around Elia Kobo.
He just needs another year to develop, Dave.
Of the 2018 point guards the Phoenix Suns employed, Isaiah Kanan, no offense to him, but she'd kick his ass on a basketball court. Elia Kobo. Don't even slander. That's your hot take for the morning.
Jake, Dave has his jersey.
Yeah, I bet.
Dave has his jersey. Don't be fooled.
The Akobo. I'll pull it out here sometime. No, that is definitely not. Nice guy, by the way. Really
Very
nice guy. Always available for post-game interviews in the locker room.
Yes. Actually signed autographs for my sons. So they actually liked him.
Because nobody else was talking to him. Yeah, so your sons just were able to walk up and say hi.
I actually hope you guys do have a jersey of Kobo, and go ask Monty Williams to sign it. I mean, as being one of the favorites.
He was one of Monty's favorites. I mean, somebody should have like the collection, right? The Akobo, the Nader, who else has been the
Monty Williams Reserve Collection.
Available
now for
Frank is on there too. Frank's the one. Frank's like the star of that group. Speaking of guys that are Monty Williams favorites. Oh, well, Jake, first of all, before I move into that, give me your hot take. What have you been thinking about with the Suns this week that you want to share with us?
I didn't think I was going to be able to slip it in this early in the show, but Hassan Whiteside.
Dude, don't say that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not watching him enough, but he looks like he could fulfill the JaVale McGee backup. Okay, I'm just saying. Lots of rebounds, block shots.
There's a reason he is sitting on the sidelines, not signed by a team, despite being a double-double machine.
He wants to hold out for a title contender like the Suns. That's what you're telling me, Dave.
All right. You're also probably an Andre Drummond fan.
I mean, I do like the old back to the basket
Jordan
game.
fan.
You know this, Dave. But all right. I'll pull back.
Throw it up in my mouth right now. Almost as if I was smoking that cigar. Jeez.
What's wrong with Andre Drummond, by the way?
Oh, right. Dude, if we're going to play half-court rec league basketball, nothing.
In the playoffs, the game slows down.
Every now and then, you do need to be able to throw the ball down to get a basket.
Why isn't Andre Drummond a better player in the playoffs? Why do those guys disappear in the playoffs?
I don't know, but I like him. I mean, he's walking 18 rebounds.
Oh, my God.
Good. I'm with you, Jake.
Let's transition. All right, I got to cut this off. This is blasphemy. I got to cut this off. Let's transition to the Suns' actual backup center this year. He's been hurt for the past year. He's finally healthy. Dario Saric, who is also another Monty favorite. He calls him a connector, says he really helps, keep that offense running in that second unit. And he just did an interview this week because he was prepping for starts today, the FIBA championships. And he is going to be playing for Croatia this summer. He's fully healthy again, starts today. So that means he can move, he can run, he can do whatever. He will be healthy for the playoffs. Do you guys even remember what Dario on a basketball court looks like? Doesn't it feel like 10 years ago? Seriously, doesn't it feel like a long time ago?
It does. It does. You know what he is? Excuse me, all the things that Monty says he is. I just don't think he's as high level of a player doing it as Monty says he is. But I do believe, I go back to this. I honestly think if Dario was healthy against Milwaukee, Suns would have won that.
They might have. He definitely would have been able to match up with Brook Lopez a lot better than anyone else on the Suns court, because at that point, all they had was Jay Crowder. 6'6" Jay Crowder to defend Brook Lopez next to Giannis, because they put DeAndre on Giannis. Jake, what do you think? Do you remember what Dario looks like as a basketball player?
Honestly, Suns jam session, the Saric smoke break, is actually how I remember Dario Saric, is just with a cigarette in his mouth sitting on the bench or in the back of a gas station.
Darth is going to love you. Your only recollection of Dario is clips from Suns jam session podcast.
I mean, no, I you know what's funny? Let's be honest though. I feel like the one term that gets always thrown around about Dario, and I don't hear about any other player, is that he is a connector. Now, when I played high school basketball, I never had my coach go, "Now, Jake, I just want you to go out there and be a connector, be a connector." But that is like, when I watched him play, he's high energy. He seemed to have a higher motor, and Campaign seemed to play really well off of him, and he did. He was quick, and of course, Monty's 0.5 system, make quick decisions, get the ball moving. He was good as a big man when it came to that. He wouldn't sit, like, he could take the spot up three, or he would dish it right back to somebody and get the ball moving again. He didn't just sit there and start pounding the ball. So he's not a highlight guy. So it's you're not going to be able to sit there and be like, "I remember that huge dunk he had," or that, game-winning half-court three-pointer. Not his game, but I mean, it's overused connector, but that's what he is. He's like, he's the oil that helps the gears, all kind of turn.
Yeah. Campaign really needed somebody to take a little bit of pressure off of him as a passer, and Dario doesn't rack up the assists because he gets the hockey assist. He gets that first pass into the third pass that makes the shot, that kind of thing. You know what I see? Because, and PLR, you mentioned Dario as that high post passer, as he can create a little bit, he can rebound a little bit, he can defend a little bit. He could have been good against Brook Lopez. You talk about that. And I know a lot went wrong against the Dallas Mavericks. I still don't understand that series at all. Every freaking game was won by 20 points. That was so weird. But I actually feel like Dario would have been very helpful toward the end of that series when they were double teaming Devin Booker and nobody else flashed to the high post to catch that halfway pass through the double team from Devin Booker, to then pass it to another open guy on the backside really quickly. Because if you're double teaming Devin Booker 30 feet out, guess what? The rest of the floor is 3-on-4 or 4-on-3 for your side. So Dario would have flashed and gotten that quick pass, that second pass, to create offense when the Suns offense completely bogged down, especially in that game 7. I think he could have helped settle the team. I think he could have helped balance the team on offense, on effort. And there was a lot that went wrong, and Sundress Dunks is bringing up, yes, the COVID happened on some level, cockiness happened. I remember Monty Williams, the beginning of the playoffs, as the Suns were struggling against the Pelicans. All credit to the Pelicans for playing really well, but still, Suns shouldn't have struggled that much. Monty kept remember PLR. Monty would say appropriate fear.
Yes,
the Suns lacked the appropriate fear of their opponent. They went into the playoffs this year assuming wins against teams they felt they could beat easily, and that takes your edge away. And so they lost that appropriate fear in that second half, in that playoffs, definitely in the last month of the season, basically after they hit that 60 wins. So I think Dario kind of helps raise that floor a little bit. So he could have helped definitely even in the playoffs this year, because as you guys know, by the second half of the Mavericks series, Campaign was so bad he got benched the last few games because he couldn't generate the right kind of offense. And JaVale McGee had been benched by then too, because he couldn't defend on a 5-out, the way Dallas was playing. And so would have Hassan Whiteside and all those other guys been benched. But anyway, we've got an opportunity there where Dario can be a changeup, because you've still got Bismack Biyombo coming back this year. I think this is the best combination of big men the Suns have had, actually, coming into this season than they've had in either of the two contending seasons, because the first season they went all stretch guys backing up Ayton, right, with Dario and Frank. And then the second season they went all big men, paint defenders, but no stretch at all, with JaVale McGee and Bismack. And because Frank got hurt early in the season, he was supposed to be that balancer. Maybe with Dario and Biz, you've got some nice balance behind Aiden.
I like it, but I like the size too, Dave. Honestly, I think JaVale would have been back if Dallas wouldn't have paid him so much money. And obviously what he does is still needed because the Warriors who move up and down and don't really rely on size, they used him for 2 titles. The Lakers used him for a title. The Suns are fine with him. It's just he's not a guy you can play every game anymore. You have to play him in situations. And Dallas just put him in a situation where they couldn't play him. So that's why I'm with Jake. Every now and then you just need a big guy. Sometimes you just need a big body. And the one thing that Dario and Bismack don't give you when Aiden goes to the bench is a big body. So I don't know, maybe it's just me and maybe I'm just old school, but I think anytime you can have a 7-footer on your bench coming off, that's not a negative.
Well, I'll let you guys hold out the prayer vigil because all those dudes you're freaking talking about are still waiting on the sidelines hoping for an NBA contract. So, I'll let you guys keep out.
I think Andre Drummond signed with the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice big contract, yeah.
Yeah, he's a member of the Bulls. Yeah,
Hassan is still out there though, folks. So you can certainly go to bed at night, kneel next to your bed, put your hands together, and pray for big Hassan Whiteside to come off the bench and then scuttle the team's dreams. But anyway, let's move back. Oh, and you know what? Ted Lubin mentioned Jock Landale. We didn't even talk about him yet. Obviously, he's a break glass in case of emergency guy. He's an older second-year player from Australia. I think he's 27, 28, but he's only in his second year. He played for the Spurs a little bit last year. He can shoot the 3. He's a good stretch guy. He's basically the Frank Kaminsky replacement. He is on a mostly non-guaranteed contract, so there's no 100% certainty that he'd be on the team. But given the Suns' current makeup, in that he's one of the 14 who are actually under NBA contract, and a team can have 15s, right? So the Suns still have an open spot. And if the Suns make a big trade, they'll have even more open spots because they're going to be leveling up with a many for one trade. Jock is probably on this roster this year. Have you guys ever seen Jock Landale play basketball? PLR?
No, I have not. You know what? And I can, like you said, I can go to bed and rest easy. Thus far, knowing I have not. He's a guy I'll watch in preseason, but there's been no need to do an assessment report just yet because you said break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah,
he is the drinking buddy that you have after you call the first 8 guys, and you're like, hell, I hope this guy just happens to be at the bar.
I'm going to make a correction here. I listened to him being interviewed on PHNX Sports this week. You guys should go check out that podcast. Good guys on there. And Jock would be the first dude you would call for a drinking buddy. First dude. Freaking hilarious. That dude is awesome.
That tells me he's about the 12th guy I want to come in the game. So I will hold off until preseason when I have to watch him. So I'll be patient.
If we're gonna do one of those late night at Summer League Hooters nights again,
yes, sir.
We want wings at midnight, like we did 85 years ago.
Exactly.
Doc would be an awesome third to join us, man.
What's sad is we were old dudes then. So could you imagine how we were gray bears when we were there last time?
And we literally did just go to eat the wings.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So the Suns have some interesting depth at center. It's not that dissimilar to prior season's depth. You guys wish they had a little bit more size. I'm okay with what they've got there. They've got at least some depth. So if that finals happens again and one guy gets injured, like you mentioned, the Suns will actually have somebody else to bring in that's over 6'6". And it's not quite as big as the dudes they had this past year coming off the bench as far as JaVale McGee, but JaVale kind of played himself out of the rotation at one point against the team he signed with for $20 million over 3 years. they played him off the floor and then signed him. I thought that was interesting. What do you guys think of the Mavericks offseason so far? They let Brunson go for nothing. They acquired Christian Wood from Houston, who's been let go by every team he's played for. And they signed JaVale McGee at center, and that's basically been their summer. Jake, what do you think of the Dallas Mavericks summer?
Well, I wouldn't say they let Jalen Brunson go for free. I mean, if somebody hires your dad and then gives you a whole lot more money to come play for them, it's kind of. I mean, I don't think the Mavericks were going to be able to.
I thought you were going down a whole different analogy.
Oh no, I don't. I don't think they would have been able to convince Jalen to stay. Is my point. Jalen leaving is actually. Yeah, I think it's going to hurt them more than I think people are talking about. Christian Wood is like that most productive guy on a terrible team type player, and he's got that kind of reputation now. So it'll be interesting now that he's on a team that's supposed to be competitive. And I think them signing JaVale to that contract too, definitely surprised because of the length of it. I mean, I kind of thought JaVale was just going to go the way of the 1-year contracts until he was kind of done. But I mean, the Mavericks could only play 5 out last year. I mean, they were completely limited to that, and that's why it was a little bit advantageous for them going up against the Suns in the series. Is that all 5 guys just stand outside, and they don't have a great center like Whiteside. But they got that option now in case they go up against somebody that will actually have somebody that's a little bit more productive in the post. And so, yeah, I've heard rumors that they think he might be a starter. I don't know if it might be the old.
No, it'll be one of those token starters where he plays like he's done for 10 years now, which is basically JaVale. Since the second half of his career started and he became, instead of Shaqtin' a Fool starting center, he became a backup who can help you win championships in small minutes, or a starter that plays backup minutes. He'll be like that, and that's fine. Dallas, look, man. Dallas had what? Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber, like you said. They didn't quite have the size. They had Boban Marjanovic, which that dude is so great. He's basically the great guy to have on a bench, but you never play him.
Okay, I was going to say, if we're going to go down the hating on Whiteside, hating on Drummond, but Boban, I mean, hey, I loved him in John Wick 3 as much as the next
Boban
guy.
Boban is the extreme of those guys.
Yes,
where
exactly.
He can play really well for a minute and a half.
His per 36 rebound numbers off the charts.
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby and Toby.
Yes, right. Oh my God, did you guys see the Twitter exchange where Tobias Harris? I'm marrying my best friend today. I'm so happy, and everyone thought he meant Boban.
That's good.
Tobias Harris of the Sixers got married. And everyone thought he meant he was getting married to Boban because he just said he's marrying his best friend. He literally had to quote tweet himself to say, for clarity, I am not talking Boban Marjanovic.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about something relevant or potentially relevant. So this week, Kevin Durant and Joe Tsai, since the last time we recorded, or I recorded with Brandon last weekend, Kevin Durant met with Joe Tsai, and they met in London. Joe Tsai is the owner of the Nets, and Kevin Durant laid down an ultimatum, apparently, that nobody refuted. So the ultimatum was laid. The ultimatum was out there because nobody refuted it, that either he goes or both the coach and the GM go, Steve Nash and Sean Marks, who built actually 2 different Nets teams that were both contenders, but just not contenders, but were both really good teams in totally different ways. What do you guys think about Kevin Durant actively becoming a coach killer? Jake, you first.
Yeah. Talk about a reputation you don't generally want to have following you around. All I kept thinking of is, what a power move, though, of kind of brass cojones Kevin has to have on probably, I'm assuming, getting put on a private. He went to London, didn't he? He was flown out to London. Yeah. To get on a private jet just to be flown out there for something that could be done over the phone. Just say, hey, I just don't like this coach. I think we need a new general manager. Instead, he flies you all the way to London, and then you still say, you know what? Fire these people or I'm gone. He cannot stay in Brooklyn now. You can't fly somebody.
That's the thing is you
across the ocean
cannot
and
keep Kevin Durant. If you're going to show, Joe Tsai later that day said he backs his coach in his front office. PLR, what did you think when you saw that?
I think it's just the next move on him attempting to force his way out. Because first you start with the trade, and then they basically say, no, we're not trading you because we're not getting what we think we're going to, get for you. So then you have to wait for a minute because you can't kick and scream like a 6-year-old. So then you wait, and then your next move is, well, you know what? I don't want to play for the coach anymore, and I don't want to play for the GM anymore. Either them or me. So it's the next step in the let me see if I can force my way out. Honestly, though, I think differently. If I'm Joe Tsai, I say, well, you know what? Don't play for him, but I'm going to find you every day you're not here. I would not trade Kevin Durant, and I would not trade Kyrie Irving. They would both suit up and be ready to go because you have to look out for what's best for your team. And trading him for lesser value and not really getting anything and starting over, it's not viable in that market. You're not just talking about Brooklyn playing in Brooklyn. You're talking about them competing with the Knicks for dollars, fans, eyes, back page, everything. And you can't end up playing like Elie Okobo and Nader and getting rid of Durant. It's just not gonna sell. So honestly, I think he's back in Brooklyn. I just think it was the next step.
That is a perfect comment to lead me into this next section. Like I said, so the Nets have put a really high price for trading Kevin Durant so far. Durant is doing the best he can to drive that price down. Durant is trying to force the Nets into a position to lower their asking price so that other teams can actually match it, and that it's a team that he wants to go to. So the Nets are currently demanding, last they put out any feelers for demands or responses to teams who wanted to make trades, was they want at least one all-star back. So they're not going to be playing. They don't want to play Abdel Nader and Elie Okobo types. They want at least one all-star back and a ton of draft picks. And the draft pick market has already been set with DeJounte Murray getting 3 unprotected first rounders, and then Rudy Gobert getting 4 unprotected first rounders, plus a 2022 first rounder that just got taken the week before the trade, who's another guy who will sit on the end of benches for the next 10 years, Walker Kessler. But then you've got 5, that's 5 first round picks effectively, including the 2022 draft. And for Rudy Gobert, now the Nets are in a really tough position because they can't really take just 3 firsts. They can't really take just, 2 firsts or whatever it is. The most recent rumor about the Celtics is that while they're willing to give up the all-star part of that in Jalen Brown, because he has his own contract issues that the Celtics are stressed about, they only offered 1 first-round pick, and if you're the Nets, you can't just take 1 first-round pick. So let me set the stage here a little bit. The Nets want lots of draft picks, and they want an all-star. Let's talk about draft picks for a second. Draft picks, the Nets want as many as possible. Well, here's the rules in the NBA, the CBA. The rules are you can only go 7 years out for picks, no more than that, and you can only trade every other year first-round picks clean. Clean first-round picks can only be every other year. What is that? Let's do math. That's 4 maximum starting in 2023. 2023, 25, 27, and 29. That's 4 maximum first-round picks. That's what the Jazz got for Rudy Gobert. Okay, great. Well, how do you do better than that? You add in pick swaps in the in-between years. That's those pick swaps. If you're trading with a team that goes really, really bad, you can end up with top 3 picks like the Celtics got to get Jalen Brown and to get Jason Tatum. But here's the problem. The Nets don't have picks in 2 of those 3 opposite years. So the Nets can easily get some of these clean first rounders, 23 to 29, every other year. But they cannot take more than 1 swap in the odd years because they've already given their 2024 and 2026 picks to the Rockets for James Harden that they did not recoup in retrading James Harden. So the Nets are kind of stuck with the most they can do is 4 firsts and 1 swap, or they could do the opposite thing and do 3 firsts, 24, 26, 28, and 4 swaps. Or actually, they can't even swap one of those years. So it's 3 picks, 3 swaps. What would you do if you're the Nets? Would you insist on 4 firsts? I'm just going to ask you guys a question. If you're the GM of the Nets and you know what your limits are, would you want 4 firsts from a contender that you're trading Durant to and 1 swap, or 3 firsts, but they don't start until 2024 and some swaps in between there? PLR, what would you do?
Okay, if that's my only answer, I'm going to still go with neither. I'm not moving him. I have him for 4 years. I'm not moving him.
All right, play the game. Play the game.
All right, I'll play the game. I'll play the game.
You to play the game. You're my game.
I'll take the 4 every other year picks.
That's starting in 2023.
Yep.
And then just 1 swap there. What would you do, Jake?
Yeah, just yeah. So I'm sorry. So the comparison is more swaps or more picks, or Jalen Brown
The
in one.
Comparison. No, we're just talking picks first.
Okay.
Keep up, guys. Come on.
You're
talking
the pick
picks.
and the swap, and you're talking to me like an auto mechanic. Your Johnson rod's broken. You need to get that replaced.
Again, stop with those references. Okay, so
that was pretty clean.
It'll run you, Jake. No matter what, it's gonna run you. It may run you a little.
Exactly.
It may run you a lot.
Oh gosh. No, more unprotected first round picks. Give me that anytime, because it's more attractive right now in the trade market to try and swing that into something else. So there's going to be a lot of people going for this French kid not named Elie Okobo, and a lot of people are going to be wanting to get just another crack at it, or just something else deeper down the line for the future.
So if that's the case, there's about 7 teams who have been mentioned in Durant rumors, Kevin Durant rumors. Okay. There's only 2 teams that can give, of all those teams, the Heat, the Sixers now, the Celtics, the Suns, the Raptors. That's 5 teams right there. There's probably a couple of others. Oh, yeah, the Pelicans because of Brandon Ingram. The only 2 teams of those, there's only 2 teams who can give 4 firsts, and that's the Suns and the Raptors. That's it. So if you're going to trade Kevin Durant, you just got to play along, PLR, man. If you're going to trade Kevin Durant and you're maximizing your first, there's only 2 of these current potential destinations who can even give you the 4 firsts, and that's the Suns and the Raptors. So now let's talk about the All-Star side, the All-Star player side. The Raptors are the only team out there that can give you both an All-Star, Pascal Siakam, 1-time All-Star, and those 4 first-round picks. If you're the Nets, and PLR, I already know your answer because you're pretty consistent. If you're the Nets, do you think that Pascal Siakam plus maybe an OG Anunoby plus 4 picks, is that going to move your needle?
Okay, can I throw one in? Yes, that would move my needle, but can I hold out for Scotty Barnes? Because I'd rather have Scotty Barnes than Pascal Siakam.
Of course you would. Of course you would. And that's one of the reasons the Nets are still holding out, because that's who they want is Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes, Rookie of the Year for 2022. And obviously it looks like the guy with the highest ceiling among them. But if the Raptors are not willing to part with Scotty Barnes and you get down to the wire and you just don't want to start training camp with Kevin Durant, what do you think of that package?
I'll take that trade. I really will. I think I would take Pascal. Please don't kill me I got to remove my Twitter, but I would take him. I will take him over what the Suns would offer with Mikal, because I think he's a better player. Pascal, right? Pascal Siakam. Yep.
Well, people don't notice Pascal Siakam because he's up in Toronto, I think, and they've had a couple of off years since he became a really, really good player. Pascal Siakam is dang good.
He really is.
Create his own shot. He passes. He rebounds. He plays. He's basically, yes, he's really, really, really good as a triple threat, and can play very good defense too. So
Yes.
Pascal Siakam is a heck of a player. And what's weird is we haven't heard him mentioned among the media rumors, media generated rumors of potential, but he is the guy who fits. He's played one All-Star game out of his career. But he does have that All-Star rep. And really, he's one of the few guys that could be at the high end that could be got. Now, let's switch over to the Celtics. Well, Jake, wait a minute. First of all, would that move your needle? Would you do that, Pascal, over would you do that over the Suns offering Mikal Bridges?
I wouldn't, and just for one reason, because to me it's about what else is showing up. It's Pascal's the better player. He's that great juicy steak, but you're not getting anything else on your plate. Whereas Mikal's like that great piece of fried chicken. Then you got mashed potatoes, and you got coleslaw, and you got beans. I mean, you got a few other
what if they
pieces
include they've got to do the salary stuff now? Pascal makes around 30 now because he is a max player, although he's a tradable max. What if they included OG?
See, I think looking still. Well, one, I think. Playing the game still a little bit. Kevin Durant would refuse, I think, Toronto, because then Kyrie can't come up and visit him. He can't come into the Canadian border still.
That's
so
true,
if his friend can't ever visit him, does he even really want to go? They still want to be pals. So I think you're going to have a little bit more. The Nets still want to remain competitive, have a competitive team, maybe make a low rank, at minimum in low seed into the playoffs, maybe make some noise. I think you're going to get that if you get some more quality players in the Suns package. Of course, Mikal's still the top draw, but if you get a Mikal, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, plus a bunch of first-round picks that you can then offload to get another good player, I think you've got something there. Kyrie can take as many shots as he wants. Ben Simmons can do that. But Pascal, he's not as much. I think him alone and OG. I'll be honest, I haven't seen him play as much, but I think because of Toronto. But I think
because Toronto,
it's just it's kind of the same reason that with the Miami Heat and just like they keep saying, well, if Bam Adebayo is going to have to show up in that trade, and I think. What are they going to do? They just signed Speedy Claxton back to a nice sized deal. I mean, they're just going to become a bunch of centers and Ben Simmons, and Kyrie's just going to take shots and tell him to go rebound it for him. I mean, I think if you want a balanced, competitive team, the Suns would make the most competitive offer in that comparison than Toronto could.
Okay.
Hey, Dave? I'm sorry, Dave. You know what, Jake? I think you're being a little bit too nice to the other guys outside of Mikal. OG can really play. And maybe I watch too much Toronto basketball. That league pass, man, it kills you. You watch a lot of crap you wouldn't watch. But I think those two right there are giving you two substantial ballers, plus the picks. Mikal is great, but honestly, if we're really being true about the roster, Dave always gets on me about saying this, the Suns really have one all-star and one borderline all-star, and then they have an aging all-star. And then a bunch of really good role players. If you make that trade to Toronto, you're getting an all-star, a very good player in OG, and all those picks. So I just think that would be a better move. And that's why I would say Toronto. And
real quick, Dropping Dimes puts a comment in the chat that I feel like I have to address every time I see it. I appreciate you. I understand the Ayton. He says Ayton is better than Siakam, and they didn't want Ayton in Brooklyn. I need to address this. The reason the Nets did not want Ayton was contract, not talent. If Ayton had Siakam's contract, which he does now, starting a year from now, he can be traded. But if Ayton already was fully under contract, they would have wanted him. The reason they didn't want him is because he would have screwed up their entire salary cap because he was a restricted free agent this summer. That's why the Nets didn't want to discuss Ayton at all. Had nothing to do with talent. So if Ayton had Siakam's contract and in the same spot as Siakam as far as a couple of years into the contract, Ayton would have been the biggest. I agree with you that Ayton's better than Siakam, but that's not the reason they didn't want Ayton. So what I want to point out about Toronto is something one of you guys mentioned a little bit earlier was this is really still a player-driven league, and Kevin Durant has to agree to want to go there. Now, Masai Ujiri could say, because he took the GM of Toronto. He took Kawhi Leonard for a year, knowing he might only have him for a year, and he gladly took him. But what did Masai Ujiri do? He gave a lesser package to from San Antonio. Sorry, he gave he gave a lesser package to San Antonio to get Kawhi because he knew Kawhi might only be there for a year. So I can see I can see Masai Ujiri in Toronto not giving up all of Siakam, OG Anunoby, or someone like him, and the 4 picks because he knows Kevin Durant might not want to stay for 4 full years in Toronto, because I think we all know Kevin Durant's not going to want to stay in Toronto for 4 years. I just think we do. So if that's the case, then maybe Toronto's offer isn't as good as it could be, and maybe caps out at something like a couple first-round picks or 1 or 2 first-round picks along with Pascal, and all of a sudden it's not as good looking package. So let's shift over to the Celtics. Jalen Brown plus 2 or 3 first-round picks. Would you do that? Who else do they have? They're not going to trade Marcus Smart along with Jalen Brown. But what would you do if you're the Celtics? How far would you go? Peeler.
I wouldn't. I thought it was stupid to offer the trade anyway, to be honest with you. I think with Malcolm Brogdon, am I supposed to be playing the game before I answer that? No, okay.
Play the damn game, PLR. Play
Jake,
the game.
I had to check if I was supposed to play the game. Let's see. No, there's nothing else they could offer that I would think. See, no. Let me answer the question, play the game. No, there's nothing else they could offer other than the picks and Jalen Brown. You can't throw Marcus Smart in. So who else is there? You're not going to throw.
Yeah, so if you're the Nets playing the game, if you're the Nets and you have an offer of Pascal Siakam, a couple of non-entity kind of role players like the Suns would offer too, but Pascal Siakam and 2 first-round picks at best, or Jalen Brown and 2 first-round picks from the Celtics, which of those 2 do you like better?
Toronto still, because we're leaving out the Kyrie factor. If Kyrie is there, I want size. If Kyrie isn't there, then I can go with Jalen Brown. But I need that size of Siakam and OG to be able to play with Kyrie. So I'm still with Toronto. See, I played the game.
Thank you for playing the game. Jake, would you take Jalen Brown in 2 firsts or Pascal Siakam in 2 firsts?
I think I would do. I'll be devil's advocate then. I would take Brown. I think he can move the ball a little bit better than Pascal can. Yeah, I would see the size issue, of course, too. So again, it would kind of be who else is coming in the trade. Can you get me some role players that can go rebound all the shots that those guys are going to be taking? But I keep thinking too. Ben Simmons, they're good. He can rebound too. So. I think another ball handler that will actually shoot when it's crunch time, and because otherwise it's just going to be Kyrie and because you're not going to have Simmons taking the last second shot, and I don't know if Pascal really is he really that crunch time? 20 seconds left on the clock. Do you give it to Siakam to try and make something happen? I think you could do that with Brown. And that was kind of a problem that the Suns ran into in the playoffs, was who's going to go get you that bucket. Pascal's very productive in his role. I would lean towards Jalen Brown. I'm actually more surprised that the Celtics would not want to throw in more first-round picks to try and make this happen, because
the Celtics cannot go any further than 3.
Okay. But you said they're not doing more than 1 or 2 right now?
I'm suggest right now they only offered Jalen in 1.
Play the game, Dave. Put all 3 in there. Put all 3 in there. I'll do the trade.
Well, here's the thing. If they get a commitment from Durant that he would be happy playing with Jason Tatum in Boston, blah, 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 if that's okay, if that's what Durant says he could do, if I'm Boston, I would give up 3 first-round picks and Jalen Brown. Let me tell you why. I know PLR's head's shaking. So let me tell you why.
PLR's doing the camera shake. I'm ready for
I've got to get nerdy for just a second.
Oh, it's been so long, Dave.
Yes, it has.
Got to get nerdy for a second. Jalen Brown, it makes about $25 million a year or so. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He will be an unrestricted free agent in 2024, which is only 2 years from now. Okay. With the new CBA, with the new TV deal coming in, he's likely to be worth, especially the way he played in the finals, $50 million a year, because that's just the way contracts are going. Devin Booker would be making $50 million a year in 2 years. So Jalen Brown would be worth something similar to that. Here's Boston's problem. Boston's problem is they would have to let him get to unrestricted free agency, because the rules in the current collective bargaining agreement only allow you to give a small raise if you're doing an extension to somebody. So the Celtics are not going to be able to extend and keep Jalen Brown before he hits unrestricted free agency and gets a boatload from somebody. Now, they'll always have his bird rights. They can always re-sign him from unrestricted free agency, but you run the risk of losing him. Okay? So if you run the risk of losing him and you don't want to pay him more than Jason Tatum, who he would probably be worth on an open market in 2024 more than Jason Tatum's contract, they might lose him in 2 years. An acquiring team is under the same rules and might have the same problem keeping him. So if you're the Nets, you might not want to acquire Jalen Brown knowing if you're not a contender and he's going to hit unrestricted free agency in 2 years. You might not want Jalen Brown as your replacement for Kevin Durant because you're only going to keep him 2 years potentially. Did I bore you guys?
No, you're with us. I'm still thinking Boston's walking idiots for even throwing his name out there. Pay him in 2 years because you'll have the money and you're going to be a better team. My whole thing with the Kevin Durant trade, and you know what? I'm going to save it because I know there's this other nuclear option you're going to bring up because I was privy to the pregame show notes. So when you go to that other nuclear suggestion, then I'll combine it all together. So I'm not going to waste it now and throw in a Johnson rod like Jake did earlier. I'm going to save it for later.
Ted Lubin asked, did he hear it right that Jalen Brown isn't high on the city of Boston? I think Boston is a very complicated place to play because there's a ton of open racism still there, but also it's a great storied franchise. So I think players both love and hate playing there. Kyrie hated playing there. Absolutely. And couldn't wait to get out of there. And Kyrie is Kevin Durant's best friend. So I wonder, or one of his great friends. So I wonder if Kevin Durant would even want to play in Boston or sign off on playing there. So that's another thing. So I don't know if Boston is really going to be the team that Kevin Durant goes to if he gets traded. I think the Raptors still have the best possible package. And Masai Ujiri, as the GM of the Raptors, is the one most willing to roll the dice on somebody who might want to stay long term. So that leaves us potentially the Suns not getting Kevin Durant because the Nets could just, like you said, PLR, if they don't play the game, just keep Kevin Durant and say, prove how badly you don't want to be here. I don't know if Kevin Durant has it in him to pull the James Harden where he just goes out clubbing all night and comes in fat. I don't know if Kevin Durant has that in him to do.
Well, Dave, but I don't know if you want another hot take on Boston, but my hot take on Boston is Dunkin' Donuts coffee is vastly overrated. It's actually trash coffee. So I don't know. You wouldn't want to go there for Dunkin', maybe for a Sam Adams because that's okay in a pinch. But I would love this, and PLR will respect this because it is very soap opera-y. I would love that if Kevin Durant says, send me to the Celtics because I only want to play for teams that are able to beat me in the playoffs. And, that's why he left for the Thunder and went to the Warriors. Now that the Celtics beat him, he goes, he's that guy that keeps showing up at the end of the season. You think he's dead in the coma or something like that. Boom. He's on your roster the next season. He's ready to go.
He just joins the winning team.
Right. And what I like about the Toronto story is Toronto, if they are able to bring him in for 1 year and put him in a penthouse suite in Toronto for 1 year to win a title, I mean, Toronto becomes that like semester abroad that every college kid always dreams about, like I'm going to go spend a year in Europe or something like that, and he can just be like 1 year in Canada, win a title, and then come back and play in the States again. It'd be a fun story, and Toronto just becomes that one and done, come get your title and walk out.
Hey, let me ask you guys, so we've talked about Pascal Siakam, we've talked about Jalen Brown, we've talked about Mikal Bridges a little bit just because we all know him so well, we don't have to talk too much. Where would Tyler Hero rank among those players?
Go ahead, PLR. Light him up.
Is this another game I got to play?
Yep. If you had to rank those players as trade assets, because what if Miami, the best that Miami can do is throw Tyler Hero out there as their headliner if Miami wanted to jump into this. Where's Tyler Hero rank among those headliners?
Tyler Hero, honestly, it's tough because I think he needs one more year for me to really give a true assessment. And I say that because he had a good rookie year. He fell prey to the Miami clubbing in second year. And then he played a great third year. So right now, I would put him below everybody, not based on talent, but based on I want to see 2 years of consistency.
You think, though, he's got a ceiling that's reachable, that's higher than one of those three guys or all of those three guys?
I honestly think Tyler Hero is really good. It just hasn't been consistent. So, yes, you know what? See, I think we've all fall prey of this. We do this in the NFL too. We start talking about elite quarterbacks. There's 5. That's it. There's only 5. If there were more than 5, people wouldn't have the issue. And we do the same thing in NBA. There's like 5 marquee players, maybe 6 or 7 tops. Everyone else is just really good, but better based on the situation they're in. So it's hard sometimes to say, well, he's better than Mikal, because if I needed scoring, in all honesty, I'm going to take Tyler Hero. But if I needed
get me a bucket,
I think he can. Whereas if I need someone 10 seconds on the clock and I need someone D'd up, I'm putting Mikal Bridges on him. So everyone outside of the 5, 6, 7 top greats, they're all great situationally based on what your team does. So right now, excuse me, I would say no. The other guys are going to be better. But if you give me 2 years of it, I can be swayed.
That's 2 years of ascension. It would have to be major ascension for him. Jake, what do you think? Where's Tyler Hero rank among the Mikal, Pascal, and Jalen Brown?
4th of the 4. He's to me. I like Tyler's game, but to me, he is the young version of Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams, those spark plug microwave shooters off the bench, and Jamal I think Murray. That is his ceiling, where it's just going to be, here's a guy that can get you the bucket, that but you're not going to play him in the fourth quarter in crunch time with 4 minutes left, because all the opponent's going to do is go at him constantly.
Unless he scores so much, he keeps himself on the court. Let me ask you this question. Ceiling, Tyler Hero's ceiling, is it higher than Jamal Murray of Denver?
No, Jamal Murray's a better player.
Yeah.
But Jamal Murray has never once been in the All-Star consideration.
Because he's in the West.
Huh?
He's in the West.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
And he's been out
so that's kind of low ceiling. That's all. That's low ceiling for Tyler.
Well,
Hero.
but
I would put Tyler Hero a distant 4th among those guys. Is all.
No, exactly. It's a total package kind of deal. Jalen can give you some defense and he can go score. Mikal, more defense, less scoring. Pascal is kind of good at both, not great at anything. Tyler is excellent at shooting, but you can't rely on him to play defense. And I mean, the Heat, maybe that was their own problem. Was it? I think Pat Riley was just like, I mean, he kind of trashed his own asset when he was just like, yeah, well, he's going to have to learn how to play both ways. He's never going to start in this league. And it's like, well, you don't do that and then try and say, hey, but we've got a great trade package for you. You can have this guy. I mean,
I think Hero is pretty darn good. I think he could start for most of the teams in the league. I just think his ceiling is below All-Star is all I'm going to say. And so, you know what? I also fully believe Mikal's ceiling is below All-Star. Now, could he be Defensive Player of the Year someday? Yes. Could he be all defense 10 straight years? Yes. But I don't know if Mikal's ever going to make All-Star because he doesn't create his own shot. Until he actually makes a shot creation package, he won't be an All-Star. So there's no shade on that. So now let's do a little bit of a shift. We're 54 minutes in. Now I want to get to what PLR mentioned was the nuclear option. Let's assume that Kevin Durant does not get traded to the Suns and the Suns are now left holding the bag, which is the team that won 64 games last year, yet also the team that lost by 30 in Game 7 against the Mavs. Can you really come back exactly as you were with a year older Chris Paul, hoping that the ascension, the improvements of DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges and all that outweigh the descension of Chris Paul getting older? I don't know that you can come back and expect good or better results next year with this current team. If you're worried about that and you're James Jones and you know you've got to have a player that's better than Devin Booker on your team to win a championship, because Devin Booker, I think we would all agree, is a top 15 player, but maybe not a top 10 player at this point, and maybe ever. He might not ever make top 10. Almost every championship only gets won by top 10 players, usually top 5 players. What if LeBron James get his wandering eye and is looking for a place to land for a year or two before Bronny comes out into the NBA and wants to demand a trade from the Lakers? Would you guys trade that package to the Lakers for LeBron James, who is still a top 8 player in the league? And I've already watched PLR's reaction to this, so I'm going to ask Jake first. And I want to ask the chatters, would you trade Mikal, Cam Johnson, couple of firsts, or some variation of that to get LeBron James, who was in 10 straight finals until 2 years ago and is still one of the top 10 players in the game? Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I would, but it kind of reminds me of that one brief moment when Kobe Bryant started demanding a trade outside of LA, and there was that brief moment where some Suns fans were like, what if we got him to come to Phoenix? I would do it. I kind of love to hate LeBron, though, so it's hard for me to put that down for a moment because I love to cheer against him. But yeah, I would do it. You know, I want that title.
You want the title. Because LeBron James would give you a hell of a chance at a title. You've got LeBron, Devin Booker. You'd fit perfectly on the team. Just in a vacuum, LeBron, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton as your 4 main horses. What do you think, PLR?
Yet, no, hell no, not a chance. No, I'm done with it. And Dave, you know I've been consistent with this. I am not a fan for trading for real older superstars. I said this, I think it was maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, you didn't want Chris Paul either.
No, well, when I wanted him when they got him, I love the deal they got from Oklahoma City. What I said was, if you have a chance to get younger, go for it, because we always think now, we're in 2022. LeBron equals a championship. That's not true anymore. KD equals a championship. It's not true anymore. We as fans have to stop thinking this player equals this when it doesn't. KD's last title was 4 years ago with Steph. So maybe we need to stop saying, let's trade for KD, let's trade for LeBron. How the hell do you get Steph? He's the magic elixir and everything, because LeBron, you're giving up your future in hopes that he can play more than 60 games, because old dudes don't play more than 60 games. And you got to hope that come playoff time, hope that he's healthy, hope that he plays well with everyone. And if we're really being honest, and no one ever wants to say it, LeBron does not play well with 3 stars. 1 star always gets left out. Kevin Love got left out in Cleveland. Bosh got left out in Miami. That 3rd star never gets anything. So if you pay DeAndre Ayton that much money and Booker that much money, which one are you willing to turn into a 0-point game in the playoffs in the Chris Bosh? It doesn't always work. I would not mortgage my future for old dudes anymore. Their time has been great, but they're not the ones that necessarily are going to lead you there. Roll with what you have. Find a true power forward somewhere so Jay Crowder could come off the bench, and let's keep rolling. But hell no, I wouldn't trade for LeBron.
Whoa! I got to jump in back on this. So if LeBron shows up, let's say we lose Mikal, Cam, and throw in, I don't know, a Shamet or somebody else if you want, and the first.
Not Shamet.
Not Shamet.
Not Shamet.
No, we're keeping him then. All right, yeah. We need that missed shot off the bench. No, kidding, Landry. I want you to get better. But would you say that, let's say we bring him in for that package, are the Suns not now the favored? You said it doesn't guarantee a championship, but are we not the favored team to win it? It's basically, it's ours to lose.
Weren't they favorite last year without him? So that's my point.
We thought, as Suns fans, we thought that, but I mean, we had just lost to the Bucks too, so we knew we were in the running.
If I'm pretending I'm Windhurst or McMenamin, yeah, they're the favorite. If I'm anyone other than those two, no. Old guys don't stay healthy. They just don't. If you look at the Lakers over the last couple of years, LeBron and AD stays hurt no matter what, but LeBron isn't playing 70 games anymore. And he's always nicked and banged up. And I'm not going to mortgage the future.
For one more run at a finals, LeBron will make himself healthy.
Let me tell you something.
Just drink that elixir.
Dave, 2 years from now, here's a guy that's looking to leave, who we're saying winning means everything, but he's going to sacrifice the winning to play with his son, which I find admirable. I really do. But you're going to give up everything in hopes to win the title. And then if you don't win the title, he's bouncing on you in 2 years anyway to go play wherever his son is. So now if you don't win that title, you have no picks, no future. All your talent is gone for rolling the dice. That's like
all right, Skip Bayless. Let somebody else talk. All right, man. So let's go here now. So LeBron James is still one of the best players in the whole NBA. Here's the thing. If LeBron James only has 1 year left on his contract, okay, let's say he does not sign an extension as part of a deal, the Suns could actually squeeze the Lakers if the Lakers really need to move on because they're just trying to do that. The Suns could actually squeeze it and possibly even keep Mikal. If you can keep Mikal, do you do the deal?
Was that for me, Jake?
Well, I've already taken the deal. I've already taken the deal. But if you get to let me keep Mikal too, then I'm giving you I'll give you all of our second round picks for the next decade if you'd like.
If I only had to give up Cam, and who else did you say?
Oh, whoever. Let's just say whatever you got to do to fit
Crowder,
the
Dario,
salary. Crowder,
yeah.
Dario,
if I gave up like Crowder, I'm not giving up Landry. Leave it alone.
When we get Whiteside in, we're going to unlock Landry Shamet.
Jesus Christ with the Whiteside.
If I only had to give up a couple first round picks, and I could give up Cam and Boss Man, I'd do that deal.
I'd absolutely think that if you can get over the LeBron and Rich Paul and Robert Sarver issues, if you can actually bring in LeBron without losing guys that I would just absolutely throw up if I saw Mikal Bridges in a Lakers jersey. I just wouldn't be able to handle it. He's so likable and the Lakers are so hateable. I don't think I could handle that. I think I could live with Cam Johnson in a Lakers jersey for a little while, knowing that he just won't sign an extension with him and he'll just become a free agent and leave him. He'll do the Steve Nash. Remember Steve Nash ultimately scuttled the Lakers for the Suns by going to the Lakers and then ruining their future. I loved it. I can see Cam Johnson doing that for us. But definitely I would make that. I think LeBron James, because you would be keeping Chris Paul, you'd be keeping Devin Booker, you'd have DeAndre Ayton. If you can keep Mikal Bridges too, because of that short term. Now, of course, the Lakers are going to laugh at this, but what if LeBron and Rich Paul forced it? I would do that deal, but I would not do it personally if you had to give up Mikal, only because I would sacrifice next year's championship in order to not see Mikal Bridges in a Lakers uniform for 4 years.
Wow.
You love yourself some Mikal Bridges.
But you call me Skip Bayless because I wouldn't trade away the future.
No, I'm kidding. I'm actually kidding. I would take LeBron. I'm joking about that. I could live with it. I saw Steve Nash in a Laker uniform. Mikal would just start getting hurt all the time. That'd be great. He'd be like Steve Nash and stop playing. It's fine. I would take LeBron. I would take KD because you've got to have that better player. Unless Devin Booker is going to grow into a top 5, top 7, top 8 player and win you the championship. You don't have the horses anymore right now to go all the way. You just don't. That's my assumption.
Well, and I hear what PLR is talking about. It reminded me a little bit of when Barkley went to the Houston Rockets to join Hakeem, and they started kind of building the old man super team. Except all the parts kept breaking down, and they weren't able to go win a title. But everyone thought, oh my gosh, you got all these fantastic. Wasn't Clyde Drexler on the team too with them? Was it Clyde, Charles, and Hakeem?
Mm-hmm. No, it was Scotty. It was Scottie Pippen too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah. It was like a 90s.
Clyde, Scotty, Charles, all mid-30s. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that concern. I just
this
think
the Charles that says that laughs at all these today's players who want to team up. F you, Charles. You teamed up getting off Philadelphia to the Suns to go to a finals team, and then you teamed up in Houston to go with some of your old buddies who you thought was going to win you. Don't tell me. And here, let's talk about Shaq for a second now. Shaq saying, oh, today's players only want to team up with each other. I can't believe Kevin Durant only wants to go to a winner. How many freaking teams did Shaq force himself onto to win championships?
Did he ever force himself? I felt like he was always pushed out to someone else.
He was not pushed out to L.A.
Oh, well, yeah, but L.A. pushed him out to Miami because
he wasn't. No,
they wanted Kobe to be the man. He pushed
himself out. He fought and wanted a change of scenery to go to Miami to win a championship. And then in Miami, that's when he started fading, and then he gets stuck with, teams like the Suns and all that. But Shaq always made sure he had a fresh start somewhere. So don't talk to me about today's players wanting fresh starts, and yesterday's players never did. Bullshit.
Just as a disclaimer, Chuck, that was Dave that said F you. That was not me. So hopefully our relationship is still intact.
And that's Sir Charles. Sir Charles.
I love Sir Charles, man. I do. I absolutely do. I can still say that, but I love him.
But no, I think you got to go for a KD or a LeBron. And, well, I'll put it this way too. And this is the one thing that helps me sleep at night, even if we don't win the KD sweepstakes, is that there's a whole season to be played and a whole trade deadline to approach to. And I would say of all the top tier teams, Phoenix has the most assets to trade. First round picks, we've got a bunch, and then tradable 1-year contracts that can go to teams that are going to say, you know what, this isn't working out with Dame Lillard in Portland. Not saying we're going to put Dame on with Chris Paul or anything, but we could go pick up another great player on a team that's just not going to do anything in the playoffs or will miss it, and we'll have the resources to go get somebody like that. But I think a LeBron or a KD, I think you got to pull that trigger because the Phoenix we've always bet on the continued development of our players in the future. And our first round draft picks, this is reason why at first when James Jones started saying he didn't really care about the draft, I was a little hesitant because for the last 10 years, we always thought that Dragan Bender or somebody was going to show up and save the day. But at this point,
Dragan Bender. Hey, let me just jump in here. Dragan Bender didn't even make the Croatian team. He tried out, and he didn't make the Croatian national team.
He just needs another offseason, Dave. No, but the thing is, I would rather take one title now and then have the wheels fall off, have LeBron leave, Chris Paul retire, and get that one title in so we can say we've got it, rather than we're going to be a good team in the 50 wins to 60 wins and then say, now who can we pick up in the draft in the late 20s in the draft? I think going big would be the smart move here. We don't want to relive those Joe Johnson days.
Not going big as far as Hassan Whiteside.
Well, I mean, we got room on the roster.
Oh, God. Hey, Sawbucks here. Just to trigger me, I know you're just doing it to have fun with me, Sawbucks. But Sawbucks left a comment. We need Whiteside and move 8 into the power forward position. And then that makes me think of Karl Anthony Towns, who has officially been moved to the power forward position by the Wolves. so they can play Rudy Gobert next to him. Final hot take of the day, and then we're out because it's already 10 after. We got to go. But final hot take of the day. Is the Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns pairing going to rocket the Minnesota Timberwolves into the top of the West? PLR.
That move, no. But Anthony Edwards is so freaking nice, dude. Once he figures out how to play basketball, he's going to be the reason why they get there, but not Gobert.
Yeah. I like Gobert as an individual player, but I think Anthony Edwards is going to dribble past the defender and run into either Karl Anthony Towns or Gobert.
That's the problem.
And so
he's going to dribble in and then dribble back out because it's packed.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch at the beginning of the season before I think they're actually going to regress a little bit. I think they'll still make the playoffs, but I think they're going to take a little step back.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. PLR, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on the Cave Show, but we are on hiatus. If you have any people that did not go to ASU or NAU or Grand Canyon, but went to that other school in the state, that means we're on vacation for a while, but we're back on the 25th on the Cave Show. I hate to use big words and confuse them. But we are back for them forever. We are back on the 25th, but I am still lively on Twitter. Yes, Jake, I still watch Days of Our Lives. It's about to start streaming, though. It's leaving NBC after over 50 years. But I'm all over Twitter. You can either catch me at PLR on Sports on Twitter, the Sports Cave with the K on Twitter, and then, of course, we're on Instagram and the Facebook. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Jake, tell us where we can find you, my man.
Yeah, you can find me at Fallen Founder on Twitter, and also I'll be launching a petition on petitions.com for Hassan Whiteside or Hashim Tabit. I haven't decided who I want to bring to the Valley yet.
Oh, he just signed overseas, man.
Well,
bring him back. Bring him back.
He's working at Dick's out here in Gilbert, dude. I'll see him in a few minutes.
Right? I mean, they saw Kevin Durant at Chick-fil-A, so I'm sure all these guys are just going to start showing up.
You guys can go to Dick's and look up to him. All right. My name is Dave King, and my name is Dave King. My handle on Twitter is Dave King NBA, and you can find all my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. I went in real depth on what the Nets are looking for KD this week with the draft picks possibilities, as well as the player possibilities that the Nets can be targeting. Those players that I mentioned are really the top end of what the Nets can possibly get, and I tell you why over at brightsideofthesun.com. So go look at that, and we'll see you again next week. I'm actually trying to get a really, really special guest on a midweek episode coming up on Solar Panel, so watch out for that. Otherwise, we'll see you next Saturday, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great afternoon, everybody.